John, you wanted to have a conversation about sales leads, and certainly it's a hot topic at the moment out there. What are you hearing?
Yeah, well, in the marketplace, it is a very hot topic, right? Especially for organisations who are selling complex solutions, complex software, complex services, both locally and internationally. But it's important to look, from my perspective, at lead generation from the buyer's perspective. And what buyers are telling me right now is that they're getting a tsunami of calls. And one buyer said to me last week he had 7 phone calls in one morning, and is getting quite frustrated. And this is a guy who's a very senior executive in an organisation, and he was saying what's happening is, obviously salespeople have been told to call more people. So organisations have their sales activity up, which is really, really great. But what I would be saying is, they need to be going on the phone to these professional buyers and professional executives, trying to start a conversation. To create a dialogue with these people over a period of time, that it's not just a once-off sales call, because if it is, they're not going to get a meeting, which is in the end objective for these sales people. And you've got to start the conversations and start the dialogue. And calling is one aspect of it, but you've got to also have insights and practical snippets to send people.
So it's great. Activity levels are up after probably 5 or 7 years when demand was buoyant and there was no need to actively go out and search for customers. Activity's up, but I guess from what you're saying, it's not very systematic. It's perhaps not as sophisticated as it should be, and it's a lot of it probably can be classified as the traditional cold calling, which nobody likes and doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, I think traditional cold calling, and I think, looking at it from the buyer side again, they're saying, buyers are saying they're getting interrupted during the day when they're busy. Their PAs are saying there's more phone calls, and you can't be seen as an interruption. And to avoid being seen as an interruption, you've got to have something thoughtful and insightful to say, and you've got to say it in a confident manner, and you've got to ask my permission to get across your message. You can't just come on the phone and say, hi John, I'm calling from the ASG group and we help companies accelerate sales. You've got to say something else. You've got to get me thinking.
I've heard you use the term, it's about conversations, not about campaigns. Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, in the end of the day, if you're selling a complex solution, a complex service that's going to take 9, 12, 15 months to sell or to get me to buy as a buyer, well, you have to start off and start a conversation with me on day one. And I have to want to continue that conversation with you and create the dialogue with you. What happens is people implement a campaign for 2, 3 months, put in a number of calls, maybe send a few emails, and then you don't hear from them again for 9, 12 months. Well, that's not what it should be about. If you're trying to generate a relationship with people, from the lead generation aspect of things, it has to be a conversation. It has to be multiple forms of contact and multiple forms of dialogue on the buyer's terms. And you know what? If I want information on a company, I can just go and get it off a website. So if someone's going to call me, they better say something insightful to me. They better say something practical to me.
So there's a lot of cold calling going on, but there's more to it than that. And oftentimes the conversation goes immediately to making calls and cold calling. You're saying it's got to be part of a package. There's got to be other methods of contact.
Yeah, multiple forms of contact. Organisations who are looking at lead generation right now need to avoid seeing it as just someone making phone calls. It's absolutely crucial. It's got to be seen as an ongoing thing, and it's got to be moved beyond just the next 3 months. You've got to look at the conversation over the next 6, 9, 12, 18 months.
Okay, so you're prepared to take a call from me as a buyer under certain circumstances. You're saying, what's in it for me? What is my message as a salesperson that's going to get your interest?
Well, you've got to use independent validation. First of all, I have, when I get on the phone, I'm thinking, or when I'm receiving a call, I'm saying, who are these people? Who have they worked with? And what's credible about them? So, what I find effective and what other people would say is effective is, if someone comes on the phone and says, hello John, and we've been working with similar types of organisations to yourselves, or similar directors in organisations like yourselves to do X, Y, and Z, well, it gets my attention straight away. And then if they ask me if I have a few minutes, well, that's good, because they're seeking my permission, and then giving me some insight. Giving me some insight into what others are doing, what my competitors are doing, what's working in the marketplace. And as a senior executive, it's our responsibility to learn these things and to see how these things can affect organisations. And in the end of the day, buyers, professional buyers and organisations that our customers are targeting want to have conversations with business people about business issues. So the business people need to be able to go in and have the conversation and sell from there.
I think from all you're saying that the lesson for us all in making that call to a new contact is to not in any way appear like we're a cold calling tele-salesperson, to distance ourselves as much as possible from that.
Absolutely, you have to distance yourself from it, and it can't be seen as call after call after call. There's got to be a level of professionalism, and it's the small things that count. If someone gets on the phone and says, John, have you a few moments, which I believe a lot of telemarketing companies won't do, from my experience and from calls that I would get is, ask my permission, ask me if I have some time. If I have the time, I'll say yes. If not, I'll suggest a time for you to call back and then make the call back to me. And you know what? Lead generation is not about bunches of calls. It's about, in my opinion, it's about being top of mind. And it's about buyers thinking, that organisation maybe can help me solve some problems in the future. I should stay in contact with them, or I'd like to receive an email from them, or that white paper was interesting. It's not just about a phone call, and it's not just about telemarketing people.
So you have a book you're going to recommend to us, Lead Generation for the Complex Sale by Brian J. Carroll. You want to tell us why this is useful, how it's going to help us?
Yeah, well, the great thing about this book from Brian Carroll is it combines both the buyer and seller perspective. So he's giving insight into how people buy solutions, but he's also talking about this multi-model approach to lead generation. And he's talking about it being more than just a once-off contact or a campaign. It's about an ongoing, the conversation, the dialogue with somebody over a period of time. So it's an excellent book. It's got some great insights. And the three things, as I said, it's about creating a dialogue, it's about a conversation, about creating top-of-mind awareness for your company with a potential buyer, and it's about looking at a multi-model approach to generating conversations, from websites to blogs to emails to telemarketing, or teleprospecting as he refers to, which is a nice phrase. Teleprospecting in my book is a very professional form of calling, and one of the key things that Brian also talks about is a universal lead definition, which is what is the definition of the ideal person that you want to talk to, and what you're going to say to that ideal person. So it was an excellent book.
Oh, I was delighted when you recommended it to me, and I think the thing that appealed to me about it most was that it was specifically for the complex sale, and that a lot of the lead generation and cold calling methods and methodologies that we read about are aimed at calling somebody at home in their house at tea time, or related to selling photocopiers or other lower value items, and that if you're selling complex sales that require higher levels of trust and credibility, then you need a different approach to
Absolutely.
it. And I guess that's what this book is all about.
Yeah, and I would say it's really one of the best reads that I've had this year.
Okay, well, thanks very much for that, John. And again, Lead Generation for the Complex Sale by Brian J. Carroll, well worth a read.